Waters.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
O'Kane.
Here.
Shaner.
Here.
Scott.
Here. Please stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Xander Swerka. Come on up here.
Thank you, sir.
Anytime. We'll read this, and Ann's not here to get a picture. Yeah, my man John Malloy will get that to us, okay? We have a commendation that reads, whereas Xander Swerka is a student at Siouxland Christian who embodies the school's mission of worship, servanthood, leadership, and living a life of excellence. Whereas Xander was the recipient of the NASP Courage Award, which is presented to the student who has overcome a major life event or disability while continuing to inspire others through their participation in NASP. And whereas Xander is also the recipient of several prestigious awards that demonstrate his excellence in leadership, including the Dugan Cornelius Scholarship, the Iowa State Bar Association American Citizenship Award, the Kind World Scholarship, the Rotary Club Student of the Month. And whereas Xander's commitment to high school athletics and academics has created a lasting legacy at Siouxland Christian, where his humility and leadership will be remembered for many years to come. Now, therefore, I, Robert E. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, to hereby commend Xander Swerka for his accomplishments. I want to present this to you, and you guys go ahead and say a few words if you want to. All right, well, thank you for coming. Keep up the good work. Okay, we'll go to interview for Travis Lee for the Parking and Skywalk Board. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
Yeah, hello again. My name is Travis Lee. I work for Oakview Group. Locally, that would be for the Sioux City Convention Center. I'm the Assistant GM and Director of Sales. I think the couple main reasons I want to get involved. I'm new to the area. I've been in the role for about 14 months. First and foremost, I want to get involved in the Sioux City community. And I guess the other obvious part for me is, since the Skywalk is either the beginning or the end of the trail, depends on how you look at it, and numbered as 27 on the end of the trail. But we get a lot of questions at all of our events. A lot of people are coming into our facility, honestly, on a daily basis, especially with the school connected to us just a couple blocks away. We get a lot of high school age students coming through on a daily basis, but more than that, it's all the events we have, usually, several on a weekly basis. We get a lot of questions and a lot of pleasant surprises and smiles when we find out, like, yes, you can take the Skywalk to your parking ramp, the two parking ramps near the convention center, as well as many downtown area businesses. And I think the most important thing for me, if not only myself, but to educate our staff at the convention center, to make them aware, to better educate our staff of the benefits and the connectivity that the Skywalk system has for downtown Sioux City, I think would be very, very beneficial, not just for our staff personally, but it could have far-reaching effects for all the visitors we have, which hopefully will be tens of thousands of visitors on an annual basis to the Sioux City Convention Center. So I think with my background, I have about 30 years of background in sales and marketing in events. Obviously, things are a little different, events at the Sioux City Convention Center. So I want to understand the logistics of our facility to be better educated and better educate our staff so we can be a primary resource for our guests, which I think we're a big touch point when people see us, myself and my staff. We are what they know of Sioux City, at least at the time. So we want to be able to help them and make positive recommendations on the use of the skywalk, as well as all of our downtown parking options, because I think a lot of times there's not a lot of knowledge to the general people when they show up to our event to say yes, especially on weekends, to say, hey, yes, the parking ramps are free on the weekends, and certainly the skywalk is a great option to access downtown. And so again, just want to be involved and be better educated to help our guests. And I'd appreciate your consideration for the role, and that's what I have. Any questions?
That's well stated, and I think for all the reasons you outlined, you'd be a great addition to the Board of Trustees.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
I agree. The more you understand about the maze of the skywalk and where to get on, where to get out of there, what's it connected to, you know. And with your marketing background, you may be able to help us better market, you know, show it off.
Yeah, that is another angle I know I mentioned in my application is just raise awareness, even to the local folks, not just the people that are just coming to our venue in our city for, you know, a few days at a time. I think it maybe is underutilized by a lot of the local folks, not fully aware of where they could access and the capabilities of it.
And the hours. You
And the
know,
hours,
some places
yes.
do have, they close it up.
Yep,
You know,
certain
there's a
sections
lot
are,
of different
yep, closed off.
mechanisms involved with it, but yes. And also, you know, with Downtown Partners, you know, we have a representative there on that board too, so they're a great source of information, but they also are very involved in that skywalk, so you could work, you know, share some ideas with Reagan, so.
Sure, yep. I'll work with
absolutely.
Reagan and her staff on
Yeah,
some other activities as
absolutely.
well, so
Great.
could be some good synergies there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks,
you.
Travis.
Today, the consent agenda is 3 through 16E. You can assume that they pass unanimously unless a separate roll call vote's asked for by a council member. If you want to speak on any of those items 3 through 16E, please come up as I read them. If you want to speak on an item not on the agenda, please come up at the end under citizen concerns. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
3 is a reading of the June 16th City Council minutes. 4 is a resolution terminating the contract awarded to Municipal Pipe Tool for the Riverside Boulevard and Hornick Avenue Emergency Sanitary Sewer Repair Project. 5 is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the construction of the Riverside Boulevard and Hornick Avenue Sanitary Sewer Repair Project. 6 is a resolution authorizing payment to Bainbridge Construction for the Ingleside Avenue 14th Street Emergency Repair Project. 7 is a resolution approving an application to the Safe Streets and Roads for All Implementation Grant Program for Singing Hills Drive and the South Lakeport Street Roundabout Project and the Sunnybrook and Highway 20 northbound off-ramp traffic signal installation project. I'm not going to vote for a roundabout, and for a lot of reasons. I'm not sure this, again, with a lot of truck traffic, this is the corner you want one, but engineers always know much more than I do. But I'm bothered that you're doing this with a report based upon, that we talked about, that isn't even done yet. And we're doing this, was this in the CIP?
Gordon Fair, city engineer. No, this wasn't in the CIP for a roundabout or a signal at this point. But after a study from both Simcoe, did a study through for the South Lakeport corridor study, which is not complete yet. That's why you haven't seen it come out yet, but it is indicated in there to do a roundabout or a signal there, one of the two. And then, of course, then the Safe Streets for All study that Simcoe did with us and Sergeant Bluff. It's indicated there as well.
I don't have a problem with the signal there. I think it's been needed for a long, long time, but I just gotta, I'm not anti-roundabouts necessarily, but when you can signal one for 300,000 or 400,000 and a roundabout's $1.2 million, and
I understand that.
I-
The sustainability of a roundabout is much greater than a signal. Signals have to be replaced, roundabouts don't.
well, that's not true though. We hit them with our snowplows anytime you got a raised curve, you hit them with a snowplow, no doubt about that. So
There will be some, yeah, they're not maintenance-free, definitely not.
look out every bump out downtown's got concrete missing from it, so that's not,
The other thing is they are 78% safer than a signal, and that's per the federal highway.
This, the grant application has to be, is the due date this Thursday?
It is this Thursday, yes.
And you don't know for sure, with certainty, that we'll get the grant, do you? Or
No, it's not, nothing's for sure.
do you know about how long that might take before we have an answer on the grant?
Do not at this time. I didn't come prepared for that, sorry.
And I suppose the good news too is that if you were successful with the grant, at least it takes that price point way down compared to what it would be if we would implement that as opposed to a stoplight or something, because if you, yeah. it
Well,
just might-
again, we're applying for two different intersection, one with a signal. one
Correct,
with-
correct.
And yeah, it's an 80%.
The grants are an 80/20, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do understand. I would share with you that, you know, after we did that initial roundabout, I'd heard from a number of different citizens that, yeah, the change, you know, is difficult to get used to, but they've actually appreciated the efficiency and thought the flow of traffic worked very well over there. And I had multiple citizens actually come to me and share their concern over the intersection that you're looking at, just from their experience of driving through there or seeing the type of traffic that kind of goes through there and wishing that there was, they suggested a roundabout or a light, and I understand the efficiencies and the studies that go into the use of those different traffic calming measures, and I appreciate at least an opportunity to try to offset costs so there's not an increased cost to our taxpayers, and hope that we're successful.
all that sounds wonderful, but you could have applied for a stoplights under this grant for this intersection, number one. Number two, one of these days, we're gonna have to realize that we have a capital improvement budget book for a reason, so we know what going forward. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this thing comes up, which I'm getting kind of old and grouchy, I know, but I don't like surprises. If we had the money to do this, what's gonna not get done because we're gonna do this, because something's not gonna get done?
That is, yes, that's correct.
Yeah, you
We will
moved
be.
another project back that could be somebody else's priority.
We saw this opportunity with this grant. Wanted to go forward with it.
And just for clarity, Gordon, this approval that you're asking for today, you're looking for approval to apply for the grants,
That's correct.
or
Not-
one
not-
for the signal, one for the roundabout. Then it has to go through the bidding process. We would have to approve the project overall. And you don't have to
even
accept the grant
before-
money.
Even before that, you'll have to approve the consultant agreement.
Right, so we have time
Plenty of time.
to do that, but you're just in the crunch to get this application in to try to get this 80% of both of these projects paid for.
Correct.
Okay, because I'm, unsure about the roundabout, myself, location of it, I would like
Yeah.
to look into the statistics a little bit more, but was the roundabout 1.2 million?
Yes,
So 80% of that would be covered by this grant,
correct.
right?
Yes.
And Mayor, I think probably why it came forward as a roundabout, I'm not going to speak for Gordon, but I mean, as the city's engineer, I think I look to them for their expertise, or at least our public works team, to think creatively about how to ensure the safety of our citizens on our roadways and try to look for different ways to keep people safe. And I understand that some people have hesitancies of roundabouts, but I think if you travel outside of Sioux City at all, I'm actually amazed at the number of roundabouts all over the state of Iowa, and I mean, quite honestly, almost everywhere you go outside of the Sioux City area. I was just in a residential neighborhood in Sioux Falls, and there was one. I mean, I think they put them a lot of different places for traffic calming now.
Since, just to add to the safety, since 2018, there's been something like 22 accidents at that location. So that was
That
looked
isn't
at.
any greater than if you went up the street to.
No, that's true, but when we're looking at this one intersection, it's got a lot of accidents, and we want to reduce that. and with a sustainable infrastructure that we won't have to replace when someone hits a pole.
Many people,
This grant is brand new this year. It just came out in the last month.
Yeah, well, not the last month, but yes.
many people have appreciated the temporary signals at Sunnybrook.
Yes,
I'm all
I've
for
heard
it.
that multiple
Oh, I
times.
know you are. I know you're all for
Yeah.
that.
And-
You're not saying different, but
Regardless if this is, you approve this, or if you don't approve it, or whatever, they're going to be, those two intersections are going into the CIP. This next
Be
fall.
an opportunity to defray cost.
Yeah, yes, that's all this is.
And it
We
still
don't want to
allows
pass up the
us,
opportunity.
right, while allowing us to review the roundabout, the plans, okay.
In your memo, I don't think you told us what project is getting bumped because of this.
I haven't looked that far ahead of it at this point, but I would.
Well, that's
I-
terribly important for me.
Yeah, it would be a signal replacement for the next 2 years that we have. We have a couple of them that are due.
I still want to pull it for a vote. We could have applied for stoplights at both, been a lot cheaper for the taxpayers, and I think I'm not convinced that roundabout moves traffic any better than, I mean, you can say, well, we don't have these. Well, you know what, in Omaha, they have humps to slow traffic in residential neighborhoods, because I drove it the other day, but here we can't do any of that. So every engineer has a different opinion, which they have a right to, they're engineers, but
I'd be all for those.
Well-
I know what you're talking about as the speed humps, because
they don't happen here.
I would love to have them at Morningside University
Speed humps
around
are-
that time.
Speed humps are legal here.
What? Well, show me one we got, because we don't have.
No, we don't have any. I'm
Because,
not saying that we
because the
don't have them.
engineering department,
I'm saying they
We
are
don't have
legal.
them.
since
we
we got
could.
off the covered wagons, have never wanted one in this community, whether they're legal or not, doesn't matter, you don't put them in at all.
Gordon,
that-
can I
And
ask,
Not just you, your predecessors too.
Yes,
can I ask, this is due the 26th,
yes,
can be submitted electronically.
yes.
If you get direction from council to change the roundabout to a signal
I could,
application,
we could actually put both on there if you'd like.
I would like,
We could say signal and/or roundabout,
I would appreciate that,
Yeah, I think you
see
should.
if we could do that.
yes. I would appreciate that if you'd make that change.
It allows you the flexibility.
Right.
Gordon, is it accurate to say a signal would cost about the same as what you have here for the Sunnybrook signal?
Yes,
About 408,000?
yes,
Sig-
approximately. Again,
Approximately.
this is a bigger intersection,
It's a little different, I understand, yes.
and without looking into it, yes.
But roughly that, it'd be about that number. Okay.
Just to clarify too, I'm very much in favor of some kind of a traffic device of some sort there at that corner,
Yep.
that intersection.
There's no question that something's needed there.
Roundabout or signals, something is needed there. I go through there a lot, and we really struggle with figuring out how to use a four-way stop with traffic signs, and it really lines up, it piles up, stacks up, and it gets very confusing for people for some reason, not me.
And while you're looking at this, I'd be interested in knowing how many accidents occur with speed bumps and versus the roundabout. Because I think roundabouts do have a very good calming.
Speed humps,
Those are more
Well,
in the
let me,
middle of a
lost my train of thought. Roundabouts have a very calming effect, I think, on
Yes.
traffic that I've seen in other communities, and I think it would work here. But I'd like to just compare how many, because I know you got your signs up for speed bumps, but do you really know how bad those speed bumps are going to be, or are you just going to keep speeding through?
I'm not asking for anything like that here. I'm
Yeah, we're-
talking about, we get complaints every month at Country Club Boulevard. It's a drag strip, and we've always been told we can't do anything about it. So if you're going to put those streetlights in, then we'll just keep, or the stoplights, then we'll keep moving if that's the case.
The way that it's currently written, the heading
then-
just indicates that it's for a roundabout project in the Sunnybrook Drive and Highway 20 northbound off-ramp traffic signal installation project. Probably would need a motion from the council to amend to add that formally.
I'll move that you add an alternative to the application for a stoplight.
At the intersection of South Lakeport and Singing Hills.
Yep.
yes.
I just want to clarify for the motion.
I'll second that.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Eight's action relating to street closures. A is a resolution temporarily closing sections of Lewis Park Road and the Riverfront Trail on July 3rd for the Mardi Gras Parade. B is a resolution temporarily closing various downtown streets July 16th for the Rivercade Parade. 9 are actions adopting construction documents. A is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the 4th Street and Jackson Street sidewalk upgrades improvements. B is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the Discovery Parking Ramp Repair Project. C are resolutions adopting plans and specs for the Discovery Parking Ramp AHU Replacement Project. 10 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving an assignment, assumption, and the Fifth Amendment of the lease from Hawthorne Global Aviation and Oracle Aviation for various properties at the airport.
Heidi, I'd like to abstain on that conflict of interest.
Well, I should not say anything, but this is, for me, is disappointing because we did this and invested a lot of taxpayer money, and I realize we're going to get it back through a lease, but the idea and the concept was that we would have competition, and now we're going to be right back with one vendor supplying the fuel, and historically in the past, they've shown an unwillingness to ever reduce their fuel charges to try to attract more people to our airport, and that's discouraging for me. I got to tell you that, and I'm disappointed that we're here today, but not much we can do about it, so we'll move on.
Mayor, we do have representatives from
Yeah.
Hawthorne here today, if they'd like to say anything about the going forward. I don't know, Joe, or you want to come up and introduce yourself just to...
Good afternoon, Joe Hansen, EVP Business Development of Ascension, formerly Hawthorne. Hawthorne is undergone 2 years of upgrades in personnel, resources, energy, and we see this as a completely different company, and you'll see those differences with this acquisition and partnership. So much different company than the Hawthorne you knew.
You're aware of some then, of some of the issues that have been raised in the past?
Absolutely, and we've had a completely new administration with a renewed energy and focus, hence the name change to Ascension.
And I think the board's well aware. They know that the board's going to monitor operations, and it's going to be an ongoing discussion with how that looks out there. I will say that Oracle Aviation is retained for their flight school through this process as well, which I think is a positive out of the end result also.
Yeah, so,
I always tell
students-
Mr. Moore, you're starting to get like him. Hope springs eternal. I'm glad that somebody's a lot more positive than I am, because I don't see the advantage of this whatsoever, but the proof will be in the pudding, so we'll see.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
B is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to CW Suter for the City Hall AHU condensing unit project. I need to abstain, conflict of interest. C is a resolution authorizing the execution of a construction management agreement with Downtown Partners for the Downtown Bike and Pedestrian Riverfront Connection Project. D is a resolution authorizing the execution of a federal aid agreement for the Carbon Reduction Transportation Program Project with the IDOT for the Downtown Bike and Pedestrian Riverfront Connection Project. E is a resolution approving a contract with KP Construction for the Walden Avenue and Hickory Lane Emergency Sanitary Sewer Project. F is a resolution approving amendment number 2 to the Master Services Agreement with payments to change from an absorbed fee to a user-paid fee model. 11 are actions relating to personnel. A is a resolution amending the authorized personnel complement position classification manual and salary schedule by adding the position of public safety auto mechanic. B is a resolution amending the position and classification manual by approving an updated job description for the public works director. C is a resolution amending the authorized personnel complement position classification manual and salary schedule by adding the position of assistant public works director, reclassifying the position of utilities director, wastewater and environmental services to the assistant public works director. D, are resolutions approving the personnel manual and salary schedule for police supervisory employees. 12 are actions relating to property. A is a resolution proposing to sell a property at 3001 Pierce Street. The petitioner is Deanna Cloud. B is a resolution proposing to sell property at Shore Drive adjacent to 1741.5 Nash Street. The petitioner is Melissa Warren. C is a resolution proposing to sell property adjacent to 2426 West 4th Street. The petitioner is Tina Borman. 13 are purchasing. A is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Rowell Chemical for caustic solution for the wastewater treatment plant. B is a resolution awarding a purchase order to I-State Truck Center for 2 Freightliner dump trucks. C is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Logan Contractors for 2 melding trailers for the street division. D is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Sioux City Ford for 2 Ford Maverick pickups and toppers.
Mayor, I need to abstain on that item, conflict of interest.
Can I just add a word on that as well? Again, I want to say thanks to engineering. This is more than one department who have taken a step back and say, what can we do besides get a big F-250 or a Silverado 3/4 ton or whatever it might be? What can we utilize that's more efficient, still able to haul some things around, but much more affordable to use? So I just want to bring that up again. I know that Daryl's team did that. They switched to some little Maverick pickups, and you're doing the same. And I really appreciate you guys keeping your mind open for reducing these costs when these things come up for their replacement time. Appreciate that.
E is a resolution granting the police department advance authorization to purchase replacement police vehicles on the current and/or previous year's replacement listing in 2026. F is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Southern Computer for desktops monitors for the city PC replacement. G is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Riverside Technology for desktop and laptops for the city PC replacement. 14 are applications for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine vapor product permits. 15 are applications for alcohol license. 16 are board, commission, and committee minutes. Anyone want to be heard on any of those items?
Need to abstain on the 2 items involving Hard Rock, conflict of interest, 15A 1A and 15B 1A.
Passes 5-0. 17 is a motion acknowledging the June 10th Board of Adjustment actions. I'll move that.
Second?
Can I speak on 17?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why you're here.
I'm Brandon, and we put in that petition for a conditional use permit. And it was completely my fault. I did arrive a day late. So when I arrived, I had missed the meeting personally. And the big part that came up after that was some of the feedback that I got was exactly why we're petitioning for that conditional use permit is exactly some of the complaints that we had from people. And we feel that that was completely missed because of my absence to address that to the community, to let everybody know that, hey, we're doing this actually to clean up those things, those issues that we have. And I feel like that was missed. So we're requesting to have that bumped back to the board and getting people back in to have that conversation again, and the benefits of that. And if we have any questions specifically about that, I'm glad to share because it really will address things in that area specifically for that building and those neighbors for sure.
We need your full name for the record, please.
Brandon Von Gilbert.
And once you rule, don't they have to wait a year? Am I right on that?
Yep.
Unless council gives direction or?
No, these guys, when they're the Board of
Application
Adjustment.
for conditional.
Yeah, so they would have to wait 1 year to reapply for the condition. Wait till city planning.
Because even though we remand it back, they're under no obligation to hear it.
That is correct. They would not be, if you remand it back, they would not have to rehear it.
But they could if
But they
chose.
could if they chose to.
Here we go, Mr.
Well,
Gleiser. Come
I
on.
appreciate the clarification, and I understand where you're coming from.
For sure.
You own this building.
Yeah, part of it,
They're
yeah.
part of the building. The owners of the building do
Absolutely.
not have control over the alcohol that's being dispensed for events.
Yes.
So you're either going to have to go to, can we have this permission to get our own license, or we're not going to be able to have it. And if you can't have any alcohol for a lot of events, you don't get the event.
For sure.
So I understand that, and I think it's a very responsible thing to do. Unfortunately, you didn't get your,
For sure.
you know, time at the microphone to explain that.
Absolutely.
But I do appreciate wanting to be responsible and wanting to control what hours it's sold. There's not going to be alcohol anytime other than when there's an event present, limited hours, et cetera, et cetera. I do really appreciate that. However, now council cannot force them to revisit that.
For sure.
And Brandon, I just wanted to speak not only to you directly, but also to the council, and just extend my appreciation for the project and for what you're doing. I've spoke with a developer familiar with the project, and they stated that they were extraordinarily impressed with the work that you're doing, the dedication you have, and the vision for what you have for the future for that property. Because I think it is one of those things, it's in an area that that I think would do really well for an investment of this nature. And I think that your efforts of trying to alleviate some of those concerns by doing what you're doing is something that I can understand and appreciate. I think the property owner having a little more control over what is being consumed and the level of which is being consumed is something that if I was a tenant, I would certainly want my owner to have control over, so I can hold them accountable rather than try to go after the people that are maybe hosting an event there. And so it becomes one of those where if it becomes a dry venue because you cannot, if you can't control it, you know, then you have to make decisions. And sometimes that unfortunately can be very costly, and folks, you know, might not want to hold events there, such as a wedding or some type of reception, which, you know, to each their own. But I can just appreciate that you wanting to have that control and hopefully quell some of the fears or the concerns and frustrations that your neighbors have been having.
Sure, for sure. Totally agree.
I appreciate the effort.
Want to move it to remand it back?
I mean,
I think we should. Absolutely.
Can I?
Go ahead, yes.
Yeah, no,
You need
I
to
was
have
gonna
your-
say, we
give
wanna-
it- Yes.
Andrew Gleiser, Planning or Board of Adjustment Chair. The reason why this was voted down by the board was for that community, that neighborhood is not designed to hold events. That is not what that neighborhood is meant for. We know the Bellevue Ballroom's beautiful. I mean, I went to homecoming a couple of times there. Beautiful facility. Then the alcohol sales would just increase the amount of events at that venue, and that is not what that community needs, especially with the parking situation. In the presentation, they talked about having security at that location. We know security has been, the events that have been in that area have been issues, and that's what all the neighbors that came to talk to us at the board were concerned about, is the park. Nobody wanted to see more events there and don't want to encourage events there. And by the alcohol sales would do that. The owners have the right to dictate what goes on in their, you know, facility. And it's up to them with the alcohol sales currently. We don't want to do anything, we didn't want to do anything to encourage more events. I mean, it's tough enough.
that could cause more of a headache with some of the other.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the street's 25 miles an hour. We take some speed bumps too, you know, on that street. It's just not what, that ballroom was meant for the apartment complex when it was built 100 years ago. It isn't meant to serve that neighborhood. That neighborhood doesn't need extra added, you
They
know,
also
traffic.
had an in-house barber there.
Yeah,
Nobody's
they've
using
had
it like that
had
now.
lots of
I
things.
mean,
Right.
but I think to his point, limiting what can be served there seems like a greater tool to me.
They could certainly do that themselves.
And I think the parking was another thing that you had referenced as well,
Absolutely,
right?
and I would love to share on that point, because you're 100% right. So what we have now is these very long events where there's just this open-endedness that we just can't control because of the time frame of weddings and things like this. With this, we'd be able to shrink that down. I'm not sure if you're familiar with some of the events that we've done, like Candlelight. Candlelight is a much smaller event that generates just the same amount of revenue, and it's a 2 to 3 hour service. Meaning concerto comes in and plays, we do a nice ambiance, and it's very limited, and we're done by 10 o'clock, is 100% the direction we're trying to go, and trying to get away from larger events or more, like, 200, 300 people event's huge, right? If people are there for 2-3 hours and it's a large amount event, we totally reason with that. Therefore, we want it done earlier. The issue with the Bellevue is its age, number one. The meaning in this community, just like some of the beautiful buildings here, we have a beautiful building there, but our costs are way more than anybody else. And the parking lot is another thing we've been working with Wade on to see what is going to happen next with that. If there's no purpose for the, a parking area to be done, then it is going to stay the way that it is, which we don't want because it is a truly eyesore. Hence other things around the building, which we have plans for, which I've discussed with Wade, because we want to change it. We want to be a pinnacle, being close to Grandview Park. This was a great area at one time. There's no reason why the Bellevue can't be that. We have to manage and get the right kind of events there, day events even, right? Could be a 4-H club. We had Midwest Dance in there. They were done by 9 o'clock. These are where we want to trend to. But there's this big missing, gaping piece that without control of who's being served what, how long they're doing it for, and other things, this is why it's been open-ended. This is where you get, to staff somebody all day long or security all day long wouldn't even be feasible. And or what control does the security really have at that point, right? The service to be cut off or stop that service is where the control point is compared to trying to have to deal hunting down who has it,
Because
right?
it would be your staff serving.
Right, and we're choosing local staff. I've been in the business 20 years myself. We choose local staff that already work at all these bars. So they're probably gonna know half the people. We're gonna have a serving limit, so 5 to 7 drinks max, but that's over the max time. If we're doing a short event, you're not getting 5 drinks in a 2-hour show or a 1-hour showing. Right? So this is where we immediately stop all that excess that we've been experiencing. And I'm told in total agreement with that is that it has been kind of the Wild West down there. How do we wrangle that though? Because without that revenue, the cost of the building and making improvements doesn't currently exist. You know what I mean? It's not the design, the way the building is, and the way the building was left. We need a ton of time behind that. But my favorite thing is to share with everybody is I cannot tell you how many people I meet in town, and as soon as you bring up the ballroom or people call, somebody's been there at some point in their life at a certain age range. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're also talking with Tom Munson and some other people in town that have some of these artifacts, some of these pictures, and not just be the party place or the event place. How can we get more on the historical side? How can this be a place for a 4-H club or what you see right here in town at some of these immaculate buildings? How do we get into that? How do we become the historical piece? Exactly. So we're trending away from just being the party center and just large events, and controlling this limits all of that, right? We can actually do a candlelight event, shorter time frames, and just narrow it down, do specific things, and control that from that point. And I agree with that. I agree that there's been a lot going on, and we've wrangled it down. We've changed our hours.
Okay,
It was 2 a.m. down to
We're
midnight.
gonna move on here.
And you're just trying to get away from those wild people at,
Done.
homecoming dances and
You can
things.
do all that currently today.
I'm kidding, buddy, I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, they don't have to accept it if somebody has moved it and seconded it. They don't have to hear it because you got 1 year. You have to sit out if they choose not to.
For sure.
I have some concerns just about procedural matters here. While I understand both sides of what's being argued, we don't have the other side here. This isn't on the agenda. It's an acknowledgement of the actions of the Board of Adjustment. So I'm not comfortable saying, and if we send it back to the Board of Adjustment, the council basically, you'll argue with me about this, but I think we're saying, you probably want to change your mind on it.
I never.
But I'm saying by remanding it without
You have
having,
the right to have it be sent back. If you don't like what they do the second time, we have the right to sue you, which we never done. Came close one time back in the 90s, but we've never sued our own Board of Adjustment. And we've only remanded back, I've sit here for 25 years, I think we probably have never sent more than 3 of them back to you to even look at it, with no instructions like this. There's no instructions of what you should do, because that would not be what we're supposed to do.
Right.
We
Well,
can
to your-
only remand it back.
To your point, Dan, too, I am not comfortable offering them any direction whatsoever, and I don't think they should take any direction from this. If they don't want to rehear it for a year, they don't have no obligation to rehear it for a year. I just want everybody to have their fair shake at being able to tell their side of the story or argue their point.
Well, they had that.
They
had that opportunity.
did have that opportunity, that's very fair.
Well, but Dan, we all make mistakes on
Right.
schedules.
We did invite re-invited the whole neighborhood to the Bellevue. We did have 7 families show up, and they were happily impressed. The major issue for them is trash around the building. But that was outreach for our mistake. It truly was our mistake.
I don't know if it was a mistake, and I'm trying to see your point, and I do see your point, but Mr. Gleiser outlined why they voted the way they did.
Absolutely.
Whether that was, I'm not saying it was a mistake and you have to pay the price now.
Yeah.
I'd be the first to want to try to fix that, but I don't see any good that's going to come out of this, especially with those that had shown up, and then the Board of Adjustment made a sound decision based on what they had in front of them, as well as what your
For sure.
arguments were.
And we'll take it back to the board and see if we want to discuss it again and give the neighborhood a chance to come back yet again. So the petitioner can come, talk to the neighborhood too that showed up for the last meeting.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Yeah.
because
Well, I
Dan,
think
you
you've got to.
can vote no.
If we remand it back, you've got to.
Well, I understand that, I'm just
He's got to
talking about.
re-notify everybody, I
Yeah.
would think, yeah. He's got to
Andrew.
start the process right from the beginning.
Totally up to
Sure. Yep.
We're not forcing it, we're just saying, could you give him another opportunity
Yeah.
to be there because he made a mistake? And if you choose not to, that's fine. I mean, we're not going to argue the point.
Nope, I understand. Thanks, Julie.
On the amendment,
Real quick, I missed the motion and second
did
to
too.
remand it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I missed it too.
Okay. O'Kane?
Aye.
Shaner?
Aye.
Scott? Waters?
Aye.
Moore?
No,
now on the motion, we can vote electronically.
on the motion acknowledging the minutes, you mean?
What's that?
On the motion to acknowledge the minutes, okay.
By the way, if you can't put it on the agenda, I'm going to interpret your book here, but I don't think you can put it on the agenda. That passes 5-0. If we just accepted it, we don't have an option to ever remand it because we accepted what they did. So this is the way you have to do it, Dan. There's no way that you put it on.
Okay, just, yep, okay.
That's the way it has to go on. I think you were the chairman of the P and Z the last time we remanded one back. 18 is an ordinance dedicating and naming attractive unnamed right-of-way adjacent to 2601 Bridgeport Drive as Harbor Drive. I'll move that.
Second. You know what we did on that? It's being remanded.
Oh, okay.
It's being remanded to the Board of Adjustment, and they'll decide if
decide.
they're going to hear it again.
Got it.
And
And they'll let you-
they'll give out proper notices to everybody, and
If they do,
If
they
they
don't have
decide.
to.
if they do, but they don't have to.
Thank you,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you. Nothing there for the good on that one.
Even when I get voted down, I still want to explain
Oh, yeah.
what we did, so that's my philosophy.
Passes 5-0. Is anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
I'll move it.
Second?
Shaner?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Waters?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
O'Kane?
Aye.
I'll move second and third.
Second?
Scott?
Aye.
Waters?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
O'Kane?
Aye.
Shaner?
Aye.
Sometimes you just don't get enough excitement, you gotta.
19 is a hearing and ordinance rezoning 3,000 Outer Drive. Petitioner Jeff Hansen, P and Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anything good for the order?
Nope.
Mr. Hanson must be getting paid either way. I see he's in the chamber and doesn't want to talk.
You know, it's
You don't
always,
wanna talk,
it's always
Mr.
good to, always good to have you back in the
You
chamber.
have laryngitis?
don't want to mess up a good
The
thing.
hearing is now closed. Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
I'll move that.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye, I'll move second and third.
Second.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
20 is a hearing and ordinance amending Chapter 17.28 encroachments, Chapter 25.03 development standards, Chapter 25.06 administration of the municipal code to include new requirements and fees for Parklet. Petitioner is the city of Sioux City. P and Z recommends approval of the, with conditions. I'll move it.
Second.
Public hearing is now open.
I'd just like to say the Planning and Zoning Board asked that you guys look at waiving the cost of the parking stalls to make it more affordable.
Okay?
Teresa Fitch, Finance Director. I do want to note, if we do go forward with waiving, just noting that that will be revenue loss for the parking division, and that will have to be made up in increased parking in ramps and other on-street parking.
How much revenue do we estimate it will?
I don't know how many parklets they'll have. Right now, it's set, the rate is set at what the bagged rate is, which is $14 per day per parking stall. I think there's some flexibility there, but we just were consistent with what we currently charge. However, if we brought that down, and I don't know how long the parklets would be, that would depend on the business. I would imagine it'd be 90 days typically, or it would be a summer period of time. And in the diagonal parking, you would have to have at least 2 parking stalls. So you'd be $28 a day. And that would be, and I understand it's a significant amount of money, but it is a lost revenue for the parking division. Correct.
And it is one of those two. I think I appreciate consistency. I do. And so I understand how you arrived at that. I understand the notion behind it and why you would suggest that initially. I do. I do fear that, this would be the fear for needing to increase to offset that revenue, because I understand our parking ramps are expensive and different things, and so you need to be able to generate that revenue. I don't think that we're looking at, and I mean, I sit on Downtown Partners Board, and I know I've been a part of this conversation, and quite frankly, I've probably been one of the people that has been pushing initiatives like this. Because you go to communities all over the country, and just about every single one I'm in has them at all ranges of time of year. It's an opportunity to expand your space if you not only want to enjoy your space outside, but also to be able to extend or offer more seating and accommodate more people. I don't anticipate that this would be for every single restaurant or every business downtown, that there would be this extraordinarily high demand where you would take such a large number of parking spaces away that then we would lose all that revenue. In the discussions that we've had, at least with partners, it's been more specific businesses and different specific areas that maybe don't have outdoor seating or didn't have the space for that. I know some of our downtown restaurants are able to accommodate or have a built-in outdoor space there, whereas others, it wasn't a part of that building or it wasn't a part of that overall structure, and so they're just looking for that extension. So I don't anticipate it being a large number to where we would lose so much revenue that it would be felt. And that there would be that need to increase in the parking ramps, but I understand that that's not something that you can necessarily regulate or monitor or know what that financial impact would be. So, I mean, I understand your desire to be consistent, but I also understand kind of where some of these businesses are coming from. as far as, and not only that, so Downtown Partners, where they're coming from, as far as the energy enthusiasm, seeing people outside, eating, drinking, frequenting the businesses, things like that. I mean, it's quite popular in other areas as well.
And the planning and zoning board, you know, their suggestion is to see how it goes, waive the parking fees for now. Alcohol sales will not be allowed out on those parklets, so that would greatly impact, you know, the use of those. We're not even sure, you know, the question is how many people would even be interested with that handcuff on them. But we wanted to see what could happen with it. We were for it for sure. Thought it was way too expensive.
And two thoughts about that, about a point that you raised. Number one is, do we want to limit, you know, that first year as far as a number of a trial period of up to X number of parklets to see how it goes or how it would go? You know, and whether we want to do that, I don't anticipate there being, like I said, great demand that first year. I think it will take a little bit of time for things to catch on, as sometimes it does. But secondly, you raised the point about alcohol sales, and I did want to bring this up just to have a general discussion, and Nicole can correct me if I'm wrong, but one way that I think that other communities in Iowa working still underneath that code get around that or do things differently with outdoor space is if let's take, for instance, if you can visualize Soho, okay? Soho has an outdoor space on the side of their property, and the door to it, to that outdoor space goes right out into it. You do not cross a sidewalk or any public area. It's directly an extension of that restaurant, and then the sidewalk is on the outer part of that, next to the curb, next to the street. And my understanding is other communities have done this as well. What I've actually seen them do in a lot of different cities is they'll have the parklet take over the parking space so that you have that extension. You can serve alcohol there because it is directly connected to your business. You don't have anyone going in or out of that parklet. And then you could actually put, rather than the seating in the parking spaces themselves, that's where your sidewalk would be extended. You would make it so that it's level, and that if you were all the way to the curb, those parking spaces then were an extension of the sidewalk to where you could walk through them. They do that similarly in construction zones. You know, if you have scaffolding or something blocking, sometimes they will fill those areas so you can utilize them like a sidewalk.
Unfortunately, that isn't how it works in Iowa.
It's not?
No, you have a designed outdoor service space. Has to be fenced in.
Yeah.
And if you change that, you have to go to the state, ABD, ask for approval to have the space expanded, change your insurance, then you have to go, they have to approve it, then they send it to local authority, to the city, and then we would have to approve an expansion of your alcohol, your patio, your outdoor service area. So, yeah.
So it's not just, it's an expansion of, you have to go through all the different process.
You have to have your insurance updated, the city, local authority has to approve it with proof of insurance, approval from ABD. And it's the same thing as if you were going to have a street dance or something outside. Soho has their outdoor permit, but they have to show a map, how they're going to expand it, how long is it going to be up. So they would have to get a new and a scheduled temporary service permit for that. So it's not, I wish it was that easy, but it's not.
Yeah. I was hoping that if it was like connected to the
Nicole,
property.
you can.
That's right. And I know Heidi has inquired about that too. Unfortunately, the only way to really get service in a street area is to shut the street or to apply for a street closure.
Or that extension of your business or something, yeah.
Do you have, or have you had anyone with parklets that didn't want to have one because of the daily fee? And maybe Reagan knows the answer to that question as well, whether you've had any people say, we're not going to set up because we don't want to pay the fee per day for each parking space that we take. Anybody, anything?
And
all.
Frankie, could you mention the fees since Dan's asking what they are without even the meter, right?
Sure, sure. Reagan Cody with Downtown Partners. I call some very tall people were up here. You're asking if any other businesses would be interested in parklets. This has been something since 2016 when we did the Better Block project. I don't know if many of you were around then, where we tried to create the outdoor seating and the outdoor space. COVID was very popular in other downtowns where they created this option so that there would be more outdoor seating. So a lot of cities have this ordinance, and it's not just for downtown, I should clarify as well. This could be any community where you've had Morningside, Leeds, West 7th, if they have businesses that are interested in something like this, that could take over as parking stall to do that. The businesses that we're talking to mostly are just that. They're landlocked, and they don't have an option for the sidewalk cafe because there's something blocking in front. A great example is with Scoops. Their front garage door window is actually a serving area, so to put tables and chairs in front of the serving area, there's not enough room. So they don't have a backyard, they don't have anything that they can do to add additional seating outside. So this is an activation of space. I think what we're talking about, and Alex, I'll touch on it a little bit with the alcohol piece to it, and Heidi knows you have to be connected to the property in order to do that. I think what Alex is talking about is using the parklet as a sidewalk. The parklet actually becomes the sidewalk right-of-way, so you're not crossing a right-of-way, is which we can't do in the state of Iowa. So they have been used in that regard as well. We've looked at, and I just wanted to first say thank you to city staff. This has been a labor of love for a good year and a half, looking at many, many other cities and what they do. The city of Minneapolis is really what we've structured ours around. Their application has been very detailed and very easy to read for businesses. Planning and zoning was amazing, asking some great questions. So I think the writing of it all has been very good. The fees is just where we get into the conflict and asking for your help in that. Just to kind of test it for a year would be great. I think with an easy math system, if we had 100 meters in downtown and it's $9 a day, $900, I guarantee you we're not making $900 every day off of a parking spot. I think we have some leeway in revenue, and I would also love to see what it does to revenue, if there is an impact to that, and how to gauge that.
Here's something you have to be aware of. Every time we waive the fee on this, then the trash haulers are gonna be in here. My good friends at the
The
Greek.
contractors, everybody that we charge fees
My good friends at the
to.
Greek Orthodox Church have their big feed this weekend. And I don't want to make the Greeks mad, but they've got to buy those bags at $14 a day when the parking is actually free that day, which we never, I don't even know why we have meters up there, because nobody ever parks up there. So you're going to open up, it's going to be one of those deals for me, why them and not us? I mean, I've already had the Greeks, one of the ladies that runs the cash register up there asked me, how come we have to do that when the parking's free that on Saturdays? I don't have a good answer for that.
I
don't think
understand.
they should have to, but that's the way it works.
And we're also dealing with the businesses themselves. They have to hold liability insurance. They have to do the build. They have to remove
gotta
it.
do all that too.
They have to do that and incur costs for things like that as well with the bond. So there is some substantial cost to this. It is going to be a business really deciding whether or not they need it to help with their outdoor activity. And I think that's the key word there is just activity with, it's not the same as a dumpster taking a spot for a couple days. But
Every time
this is
there's
the
a
concept.
dumpster, it's good news. It means construction's going on.
I knew
in
you were
that
going to
field.
say that. I knew you were going
So
to tie it to
I
development.
would go the other way. That means there's more happening than not, so.
I just love activity, Bob.
So would the proposed ordinance before us have to be amended on the waiver of fees? Because that's not in there, is it, Mr. Gleiser?
It's currently written, my understanding is it's currently written with a $9,
$14 per day.
sorry, $14, but P and Z has asked for a lesser amount.
Yeah.
Correct?
You have
You wanna-
more, you
you
have
wanna
a lot
tell
of
them what the-
restrictions.
what the
Right, what are the
too,
application
in this ordinance.
Sure.
permit, the whole thing?
It's $195, and then you've got a $200.50 is the estimate for the bond, a $5,000 bond. I'm guessing it's like 10%. So $250 is our estimate. And then if we went with parking, we've got $2,562 just in parking fees for that space.
So all in,
All
if
in, you're
someone wanted to have,
$3,117.
if someone wanted to have a parklet out in front of their business for 3 months of summer to take up 2 parking spaces, or was your estimate with one?
That's for one, so 183 days would be May 1st through November 1st, and then those fees, and then the bond, and then that's not including the build, the insurance, and the maintenance and the removal and storage.
But how many spaces is that?
3,117.
So over,
Can't even fit on one space, can it?
over
A
three,
parallel it can, yes.
parallel, not the
Yes.
angle.
If you're going diagonal, you do need 2 spaces.
You have a lot of restrictions in here, too, that would discourage having a
Yes.
parklet. I
It
mean,
was
more than
very
just the
thorough.
non-alcohol. I mean, it's really
Right.
spelled out
Yes.
in great detail. I don't know if you've read through.
I know they compared it a lot to up in Minneapolis. I think the fee in Minneapolis was,
$75. They waived all the other fees. Most cities they range from free, it's a city program, and you rent the parklet from the city. They build it, install it, and put it in.
Which
The
is
others
what
are
I
about-
initially had proposed, and I know we
Which we know
looked
that's
into
probably
it,
not gonna
and
happen.
Storage was difficult and different things.
Yes.
Because that's what I liked about other communities, is a lot of it was more, they were uniform. You know, they were very uniformed
Correct.
as far as what they looked like. They were very sturdy structures.
And other fees range from 50 to 75. The most we've seen is 100.
I will say parking in those cities is significantly more than the parking in Sioux City too. So that probably offsets the cost. When you go to Minneapolis, you're going to pay twice as much per month to park and on the streets. So I personally am, overseeing parking. I don't want that to happen here. So I think we need to be conscious of that and aware.
And same in Omaha, you have to pay
Right.
for parking all the way till I think 9 PM, and you have to pay all day Saturday.
I'm not saying there isn't an opportunity for a middle ground, but I don't know that a free parking is really the best for the parking fund, at least. That wouldn't be my recommendation.
You have some comments I think I'd like to hear on this. Thank you, Reagan.
Hello. Hey, Jeff Carlson, 6701 Prairie View Court. Again, I also want to commend the Reagan and city staff. Obviously, it's been a year coming, so they've been very diligent. Also, just want to say that a couple different things. One, this obviously isn't just for downtown. I think that even though Reagan represents downtown partners, everyone can benefit from this, from Leeds to Morningside, right? I would say that from a level playing field, obviously, if we put a parklet in front of a business in Morningside or Leeds, there isn't that $2,500 additional cost for parking, which gives that business owner an advantage. Although, obviously Downtown Partners has been the one that's driven this. I would say just a couple things holistically. One, when you look at the pictures, and there's part of that packet, things like this are things that add ambiance, add quality of life, add vibrancy to a community. I think that not only for our own community to enjoy, but also obviously we've invested privately and publicly a lot of dollars in bringing tourism here and bringing people here and trying to bolster downtown as the epicenter of Sioux City and things like that. And things like this are why people talk about communities, why people come back, why people come and spend those dollars. The parking thing will probably end up making it somewhat of a non-starter ultimately for a business. So, for example, we've been trying to help drive this because the Scoops has been willing to be quote unquote the guinea pig on this, which would be a perfect application and would be hopefully a great poster child for this. Obviously there'd be the building costs, but if you look at an ice cream shop to have to pay an additional $3,000 to add that space.
Where are you getting that number? Because 13 weeks at $14 is only $1,274.
Per day, $14.
$98 a week times 13 weeks,
Oh.
$1,200 and some dollars.
Then it's the application fee, the
But
insurance.
that still is not $3,000. That's what I'm asking them. Where are they getting that number from?
Is the 1,200 because of the two diagonal?
You got 13 weeks in 3 months.
It's 183 days.
So it's long.
From May
it's
1st to November
May
1st.
1 to November 1, longer
Oh,
than.
so it's
Well,
not
you said
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
That's
It
different.
would be 6 months. It's May 1st through
Yeah,
November
well, they're
1st in
all
the packet.
talking- Everybody was talking 3 months.
Yeah.
Or summer
Nobody was
months
talking-
or
Sorry.
I was
anything.
talking summer months.
Yes,
so I may have
my number
misled
came
that.
from 183 days. You can technically, in this ordinance, you can have it from May 1, you can set it up and tear it down November 1. So 183 days at 14
Well,
per
that's a lot
day.
different than what
Yeah.
what everybody.
But it's not a requirement, right, for the
No.
100 okay.
Correct, yeah.
And the other thought process, and I appreciate the idea that there's potential revenue loss, but we're looking at, like, if you use that scoop space, for example, right in front of there, prior to the renovation of the city center and former Riviera and Scoops going in there, I would probably say that space was never used. And so, that growth then obviously has caused those parking spots to be able to be utilized. With Minneapolis obviously charging much more for parking, in my estimation, would be they're giving up much more to only charge $75 for a business because they believe that it'll bolster vibrancy, it'll bolster sales, it'll bolster a whole host of things happening downtown. So I would argue we're giving up less than Minneapolis is, obviously, because we charge less in that regard. I think that it'd be, basing it on $14 a day, what the average do we know what the average per day is of a parking space
Well,
downtown?
$9 is the average cost of per day for a parking spot.
For every space is
Yep,
bringing in
well,
$9.
every
But I
day.
think he was talking-
I can't tell you the average revenue. It's different every place. I can't really tell you that right now off the top of my head. But $9 is the lost revenue amount that it could produce.
So if you look at a $250 application fee plus an extra 105, that's additional revenue, correct? So ultimately you're guaranteeing an additional, how much total? Just the permit fee and then
$355.
an additional $355. So you're guaranteeing $355,
They don't get the
right?
bond.
Well, unfortunately, the parking fund doesn't get that.
Yeah.
That's a
No,
completely
what
separate
part was the
fund.
bond?
So when you
Is that
talk
the
about
bond?
revenue, we're
Oh, okay.
talking about different revenue sources.
Bond guy gets the bond.
Bond
Don't
guy
be
gets
given-
bond.
Okay.
The street parklet permit fee is $195.
Okay, yeah. So I think that, ultimately, from our perspective, if you look at just our buildings specifically, they've already got plans to add enhanced lighting. We'd be helping invest in that as well in the building. I think this will create a situation where business owners are going to invest more in their facades and exterior to make those to beautify those things. I think there'll be some added value in that regard as well. So obviously, I think that's, I know that I know this for a fact, obviously, from personal experience, but this is a business-friendly council. I know that you want to support business, want to help drive business, want to do all those types of things. I know that no matter what decision you make on many things, you're going to get love, and you're going to get not as much love on all those types of things. And you never get anybody like me ever ranting about that. And I never do that with you guys. But
We certainly seem to want to help downtown businesses a lot more than others.
But this is for the entire city.
Correct.
I understand that, Alex. but-
So you can do taxes out on the sidewalk. They're trying to make it easier for you, Bob. Robin can get some sun up in Morningside. and-
About what period of time do you think you would have a parklet, just roughly, for your business?
I think that it would go probably from, I think we said, May 1st, right?
You can go May 1st, November 1st.
Yeah, I would say probably just past the Remax downtown tailgate, which is at the end of September. So I would say it would go into probably, May 1st, October 1st, somewhere in that area.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
My concerns are really, if, I'm just going to use randomly here, Hardline Coffee. If I'm going to Hardline Coffee, I'm going to look for a space outside of Hardline Coffee. I'm going to park in that spot, I'm going to go in, I'm going to enjoy my coffee. Hardline Coffee decides, you know what, this parklet sounds great for my business. They're going to put it in front of Hardline Coffee. So I'm going to park further down. That's going to affect everybody further down the block. That means less spots for Soho, less spots for BAs, less spots for all the other businesses on that block. And we're going to continue to push parking out further and further. That's concerning because now Hardline Coffee's parking becomes another business's parking instead, right? If I'm a customer at Hardline Coffee and if their parklet is drawing in more customers, which hopefully it will be because, you've got that nice outdoor presence, then there's going to be more customers that are looking for parking spots at that next door business that maybe can't afford to install a parklet. So I'm concerned that we're just taking from other businesses that maybe won't happen. I'm also concerned about completely wiping out parking fees. I got to say that I would agree with Teresa on this one. She protects the city's funds, and I have to trust her opinion that eliminating those fees altogether is just a non-start for me.
Did you want to say?
Mayor and Council, I'm Mark Prosser. I'm on the Board of Directors for Downtown Partners. I'm a downtown resident. I rent spots from you every night and walk your streets downtown. The council and its collaborators have really done an excellent job over the years making downtown a destination place. And having these types of amenities added, I think, is nothing more than a drawing card that will, on the backside, impact your revenue on the positive side. I deeply respect
city revenue departments. I worked for cities for 41 years. So I understand that there's two sides to this. But I also understand that being forward-thinking and bringing more amenities to the downtown area, because I am a guy that has to look for parking sometimes, or my guests do, downtown, because of other successful businesses that have developed next to where I live. But that's a good thing. That is a good thing, and your downtown isn't big enough to worry about pushing someone parking a car 2 or 3 slots down or even a block down, because it's easy walking and there's easy accessibility. So I stand in support of waiving these fees. I think putting these fees on the front side of people who are trying to better their business, increase their revenue, that increases the tax revenue that the city benefits from, is not forward thinking, and I would encourage you to waive those.
Yeah, but you gotta sit here with me. We just did a big improvement. If you go in and improve a downtown building, we're gonna give them a bunch of money. But guess what? It only happens in downtown Sioux City, which for whatever reason I still don't believe, but anyway. Then I get to go to Coffee and Leads and get to hear, you don't do those programs out here. You know, I got to represent more than just the downtown community. That's the problem.
But we did the facade program in every community.
You don't have that anymore, and you will never have it again, and you'll continue to have it in downtown Sioux City. And you can tell me all about how you're not going to do that, but that's what's going to happen, and that's fine. But we continue to do everything. And we don't care if the retail merchants in Peters Park make any money, quite frankly, in my opinion. We can't even fix a parking lot out there.
Mayor, I'm not debating with you. I understand you represent the entire community. I believe this ordinance is for the entire community and not specific to downtown. But my point is, you've done well in developing downtown as a destination location. These are additional amenities that will assist your businesses that have invested heavily. And I would highly encourage the other areas of the community that might have creative thoughts to bring similar types of proposals to the council. That's not the fault of downtown partners or those who are trying to improve.
But they're not here asking for anything free either.
Well, I don't think anybody here is asking for anything free, Mayor. I think these businesses will be investing a lot of money up front to make this happen.
I get all that. I mean, I make investments in different things all the time, but if that business doesn't think, even if you gave them parking free, if they don't think that parklet's going to make any difference, they're not going to invest in it. I mean, everybody makes business decisions based upon what it costs.
Understood.
So.
And it might just be 1 or 2 spots today, but then tomorrow, if this is even successful, then it's 3 or 4 spots, it's 2 or 3 blocks. And then pretty soon, it's people parking at Junine Island. And I work downtown. When parking ramp rates went up, I worked with people that said, I'm just going to park in Junine Island. I paid my fee because I think that's the right thing to do. But not everybody's going to see it that way. They're going to see, hey, if I'm going to walk an extra block, I'm going to walk an extra block and park for free on somebody else's dime.
Completely understand and respect what you're saying. If a lot of these pop up, it's because they're successful, and that's bringing a different revenue line in for you. If they're not successful, you're not going to have the issue. Thank you.
And it is one of those, I guess Mayor, you brought up Greek Fest, or, you know, some of those different ones where we still charge, and I was thinking about that, and it's where, you know, you do charge for that, and it is one of those where I think the difference in my mind, at least, is that, to Mark's point, man, we have some empty storefronts in downtown Sioux City. And I don't know about all of you, but I'm trying to do everything in my power on this council to make sure that we can try to fill those storefronts, and we have them so that they are additional amenities for people that are living downtown, people that are visiting downtown. Because, Mayor, what I will never understand, and I guess I'll disagree with you on, is I do believe we need to invest in the businesses in those neighborhoods, similar to the facade programs like we've done. But if you're going to look at the commerce done in your city, the lion's share, the majority of all of the money generated through sales tax, et cetera, is happening in your downtown.
Absolutely not.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not. That mall, even as bad as it is with tenants right now, and that across the street where all those buildings are full, I got it. You can tell me all you want to, but that's where.
Oh, no.
That's where the sales tax in this community is being.
No. I should have clarified. Of the facade program areas, downtown, Leeds, Peters Park, West 7th. Out of the areas that we have the facade programs, I'm saying I would like to lean into trying to fuel more business for those businesses that are taking that risk and that are doing these build outs of these buildings that oftentimes are historic or need great investment just in order to even open their business. Whether it's a grease trap or a complete build out like we've done, I mean, in some of the properties to try to assist them. I'm just trying to generate more people. And I mean, Matthew, I completely understand your concern. I've heard those concerns before of parking. I remember when I first got on city council, a gentleman was screaming so profusely in my face that Saturday in the park that he was spitting on me, and told me that building a hotel in the parking lot of the convention center was going to kill the Promenade Theater and every business in our downtown. He was furious that we would build a hotel where there was a parking lot. And this notion that everyone in Sioux City needs to park right out in front of the business that they're doing business with, I drive all over the country again, and you will drive for 30 minutes in Omaha to find a parking space. You will drive 2 blocks away in Sioux Falls. We always compare ourselves to our peers, but yet we don't learn and understand that sometimes that means you have a vibrant downtown.
But he's got to make a motion here, so.
Last comment. I would just give some examples here in regards to throughout the city. I could see, I don't want to speak for these business owners. I do know them personally, and I know that they are putting a lot of effort just as we are downtown. I could see Council Oak putting in something like this. I could see Sioux City Distillery putting in something like this. I could see Pierce Street Coffee Works putting in something like this.
Sarges and Morningside.
I could see Sarges and Morningside putting in something like this. And I will say this, and I want to address your comment, sir, in regard, I hope, and I want you to know there are people that are putting in their life, right, to ensure that someday it's really hard to find a parking spot in Sioux City, downtown. Okay? So that day when you can't find a parking spot and you have to walk 4 blocks, I'll be celebrating. And I hope the city will be too. So thank you.
Mr. Gleiser, what's your feeling about this? You voted to waive. Was there a vote on that by the planning and zoning?
We voted 5-0 to waive the parking and approve and push this forward to you guys. We know that, if it takes, as it gets started, maybe a year, maybe a 2 year, maybe it goes back and you restructure the fees. That is, but just to kind of get it going and get it moving, and to make it fair for all the businesses, no matter if it's downtown, Morningside, Riverside.
Yeah. Again, I think with all of these restrictions that we have, and they're good, but they're going to limit the number of parklets we have in any event. What's a 5% slope on a street? How steep is that?
No, that's not bad at all.
5%? Yeah, it has to be 5% or less.
Yeah, but
that's
sidewalks are like two, right?
Can't put it on a hill.
2%? Okay.
Sidewalk.
Anyway, I think the restrictions will.
And that's kind of what we also thought too, Dan, is that, it's pretty rigid and there's a lot of restrictions. Alcohol sales would be the biggest one for, a lot of them to even go forward with it. So waiving the parking fees for a brief period of time would be the way to go for sure.
Teresa Fitch, Finance Director, I would suggest that we come to a middle ground potentially, if possible. Right now, you would pay $14 per day, which would include the weekends. If we went with parking, typically it would be free on the weekends, so we would waive the weekend days. I would say, I understand not every parking spot gets $9 every day, so my suggestion would be that we go to $7 per day. If I look at the number of days, it would be $917 for that period of time that Reagan spoke about. If we waived the weekends, only charged during the weekdays. If I counted up the correct number of days, I may be off a day or two, it'd be $917 for that full 6-month period.
Be how much?
$917 per parking spot for that 6-month period. It'd be $7 per business day, excluding the weekend.
Excluding the week.
Drop week.
Yep, that would exclude the weekend.
I think that'd be more tenable.
And
Right
they
now-
don't have to have a bond, they can put up insurance. Nicole's showing, I don't know why anybody would buy a bond, they already got insurance.
Expand your insurance.
No, why
out
we'd put
for
that in there, but
Bond and casualty
why would you even
insurance.
put it in there?
Bond, good to know.
Bond's only $100, it's not 150, but.
All right,
Make
a motion.
Fee schedule.
so
I mean,
per Teresa's suggestion, I like that.
Did you make a motion adopting that? $7 per day, Monday through Friday,
Well, how do you want us to do?
no fee
Well,
on.
there are two separate fees that are contained in this ordinance amendment. One is for temporary storage devices in the right-of-way, and the other one is related to the parklets. Both are currently stated at $14 a day. They have separate code sections. The one pertaining to parklets is contained under 17.28.230 sub 9.
Hardly wait for Tom Lindblom to be here next week.
We're just talking parklets.
thank you.
I don't blame him, I'm gonna ask the same question, and I can hardly wait for my friends at the Greek Fest to get all over me Sunday, because they're gonna ask, why are they paying for it when there's no parking up there on Saturdays anyway?
But they're charged on Saturday?
What?
But they're being charged
The
on,
reason that they force them to
bag
bag
the
them is because that way nobody else can park there. They get the right to the meter, otherwise they don't have the right to the meter and anyone can park there, so
They
that's
don't-
why they
But
do
they
that.
don't let anybody park there, they need it for their through lane, that's the only reason they need it.
Right, but that's why they do that, so that it's available to them,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
There's
That's-
also a difference between a bag meter and putting up a no parking sign for an event. That charge is less if that's something they want to look into, just kind of throwing that
They
out there.
bag
So-
them.
They're making
They
them
bag the
'em.
meter right now. I can look into, I
They don't-
don't know what
yeah.
the event, if we want to look at an event parking, like we do for the parades and that kind of thing.
I was just gonna say, then they just put the paper on, put the rubber band on it, and
Yeah, because I
I'll
suppose
look
the
into that.
parades don't bag the meters and have to pay
No,
for
but they
it.
do charge a one-time cost. It might, if they only have 3 meters, it might actually be more expensive. I think it's like $50 for the parade or something like that, so. And you get a lot of meters, but that ends up being less per meter, but they only need 3, so.
I was gonna say, I commend any downtown business I mean, we just were visiting this in Morningside, talking with Sarges, trying to think creatively about how businesses in our community, whether it's, you think about Steinbeck's up in Leeds or any other coffee shop in the area, Harvey's out in Leeds, or sorry, Riverside, you know, I mean, I'm just trying to think creative ways. If I was at Harvey's having breakfast or, you know, a cup of coffee, I would love to sit outside and be able to, well, and that's not just because their door is a little tight. It's, I would want to be out on the sidewalk. And so that's why I would be much more of a fan of waiving the fees, and I understand that there will be lost revenue, but I agree with Mark that I think you're gaining a lot of revenue through sales tax and different things of different events and just the overall vibrancy of what you would be having in those areas. And I understand, Teresa, I appreciate what you're bringing forward. But I think when it comes to these businesses just trying to expand their business rather than an event, just trying to host it for a one-time event. You know, and it's, yeah, that's not the same. It's not apples to apples. And so that's why I would be making the motion to waive all of the parking fees. But I understand there's already a motion.
There's not.
And keeping in mind, this
they
is an
made- yeah.
ordinance, so it would have to be a motion to amend the language of the proposed ordinance, which currently contains $14 a day under one section for parklets and $14 a day under another section for temporary storage devices or encroachments.
But he's only wanting to waive for the
Parklets.
Yeah.
Waive for Lindblom and those guys.
And the parklet specifically, again, it would have to be a motion to amend 17.28.230 sub 9 from the amount of $14 to another amount.
I understand.
I think based on the mayor's point on the temporary storage devices, I'd include those as well.
Oh, see, and I think it's apples to oranges, in my opinion.
I think there's,
Why would you waive it on dumpsters? They've been paying it all along.
And,
I thought you said, though, there's construction going on, and that's a plus.
but those are
I
those.
thought for this, why wouldn't, you can do whatever.
Yeah, it's a plus, but they're not building a parklet.
It's not aesthetic.
Right.
Nobody wants to look at
It's
it.
totally different, yeah.
No offense to those that sell dumpsters, nobody wants to look at it.
Well, and they're not going to be there 183 days.
Right.
They might
Hope-
They,
Hope not.
All right,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
all
they
right.
don't fit under this ordinance.
Well, it can fail for a second, but I'm going to agree with planning and zoning. I would make a motion to amend the, what is it?
1728.
17, no, is that
28,
1728, whatever is for
section 9.
section 9.
17.28.230 sub 9.
My computer died, so I can't pull it out. Sure, that's what I would like to amend, to waive all parking fees associated with those.
Is that stated correctly then?
Not exactly. Okay. So I think we're talking about two different things here. You could set an ordinance
just
rate for a parking fee. I believe the city manager would have the ability to waive that fee potentially. So is there interest to set it at a lower dollar amount from 14?
No, he wants to go where it
Or you
says
want it to
14,
be
he's going to zero.
$0 per
Right.
day?
Correct, for parking, waiving the parking fee
Parklets.
for parklets.
To make it cleaner, we would probably have to just strike the fee language. That would make it cleaner. To remove the fee requirement for the per day amount per parking space.
I would like to make my motion to strike the language setting a fee for the parklet per day price.
Thank you, and we will
I apologize.
fix the language, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion I'd like to have is to make sure we could redirect some of this other money that we talked about, sales tax and everything else that comes in, that will fill
No,
that
it's
hole.
not going to happen. You're going to be raising parking fees if this takes off.
That will, well, no, we can redirect. That's, I mean, when we go
Parking
through our
is,
budget here.
parking is not, parking is a enterprise.
Enterprise fund, so unfortunately, we can't redirect the funds. Parking has got its own separate fund, so it would have to be generated by the parking fund. So we would see increased cost if there was a significant number of losses, or revenue loss. You would see an increase other places, but it would not supplement the parking fund.
Well, you have, I was gonna say, you have my
Either way you
promise.
look at it, you got your fees, we're gonna
Yeah.
shift them one to the other.
Yeah,
No,
unfortunately
the-
not.
the
Maybe it
sales
would
tax
reduce
is very
property
clear. You
taxes,
have
but
to
it will
No,
not
but I
reduce.
mean other areas that
It's
we'll have to
different, right.
raise to pay
Yep.
for
Like the
parking.
water and like the.
The only way you can do it is with parking fees. It's an enterprise fund, and the sales
Raise
tax,
Parking
the
fees.
sales tax was very clear, you have to use it in certain areas.
Yep.
Not,
Okay. Well, I just don't want to raise parking fees. Like,
No, but
If this takes off, you can add parking.
I was just gonna say, I was
Right.
like, you have my promise,
If it
if
takes off,
I'm
they
on
won't
the
mind.
council, and if I'm not
Oh.
if I'm not on the council, I will be the first at the podium to say, never mind, every single restaurant now has a parklet. We have no parking and we are needing to update, so we better make a fee.
They can
That's
charge them
lovely.
30 bucks.
I will be the
That's a
first
lovely
one there.
thought. waive the fee, and then a couple of years from now, when you make it a success for us, we're going to hit you with a fee.
Oh. They're just taking-
I don't like that.
We've spent way more
All righty.
time on this than we should have. I'll
I
call for the
seconded
question.
that. Where are we at? We're ready to.
I call for the question on the amendment.
O'Kane,
No.
No, just a minute. The hearing is not closed, because it's the amendment. Go ahead.
O'Kane,
No.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
No.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore.
No.
Well, then make a motion. You didn't like their 14. What are you going to move?
Well, I'll let anyone to do the compromise then, whatever
talking
will
Dan,
get
what are
anyone
you at?
passing it. That's.
Well, I'd make the amendment to do the $7 a day, Monday through Friday, no fees on Saturday or Sunday. Waive the fees then.
Is that the right
Anything
language?
else? Still saying well, yeah, what you had indicated. I'll make that motion to amend.
Second?
Running out of paper here, just 1 second.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, I didn't talk that way.
Okay,
Reagan.
so the motion to amend is to change the fee from $14
Seven.
per day to $7 per day, Monday through Friday,
Yes.
No fees on Saturday or Sunday.
which I don't
Which we
believe
don't have
there are
any.
fees that are collected on the weekends right now.
We don't have to worry about holidays on a Monday or holidays on a Thursday.
Nope, just business day.
Holidays on a Friday.
I'll second that. Welcome.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Well, only because you said it. I'll go on.
Waters,
What did he vote? I didn't even.
Did I for
Aye.
$7?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, I guess I want to have parklets and I feel like whatever. Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Wish I would've
Here,
put it down.
anybody
Supervisor,
else?
thank-
Right, I'm confused.
Oh, wait, we have to close the hearing, don't we?
Yeah, we got to close the hearing, and the hearing is now closed.
Thank you for your longevity up there.
Just
Long-winded
one
day.
reading, first reading.
No, we're got to vote on the first reading.
Yep,
As amended.
Yeah,
Yes, as amended.
and you may vote electronically on that.
Your sheet.
Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed waiving the statutory rule?
No.
No.
I'll move it.
Second.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Move second, third.
Second.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. Hearing on 21 is a hearing and resolution approving plans and specs for the Dace Avenue and Leach Avenue 3-lane conversion project. I'll move that.
Second.
Hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 22 is a hearing and resolution accepting the proposal of Avis Rental Car for the lease of land in the Donner Park Urban Renewal Area and directing the interim city manager to negotiate a lease agreement. The space inside the airport terminal and access to the shared parking lot at 2403 Aviation Boulevard. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed.
Reed, you stuck it out, man. Huh?
What's that?
You passed.
You passed.
All good.
Okay, good.
5-0.
Well, it changes thing now that I see it's for you.
Yeah, he's like, now I changed, it's too late, Reed. It's too late. He's locked in.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
23 is a resolution, it passed 5-0. 23 is a resolution waiving the requirements of issuance of a certificate of occupancy to Hope and Sam Moose to allow for a deferral of the sidewalk installation at 3655 Correctionville Road. I'll move that.
Second.
Anyone to be heard? Council, okay with it?
I would just say I appreciate staff's willingness to work with the Moose family on the sidewalk. It's something we've talked about ad nauseum for a long time. And I especially, you know, after discussing with Parks and Recreation and the possibility of a future trail project or a sidewalk extension out there, it's only at that time that this would make the most appropriate sense. And I appreciate the Moose's family and their willingness to allow for the deferral rather than the deletion, so that they would be willing to be community partners and collaborate on that project should one be installed. So I appreciate it.
Passes 5-0. 24 is a resolution granting a waiver to Hope and Sam Moose to classify fill material as undefined fill and authorizes designation on the site plan for 3655 Correctionville Road. I'll move that.
Second.
Yeah, appreciate Mike, you and Tom and Gordon working with them. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Passes 5-0. Citizen concerns, anyone to be heard? Mr. O'Kane?
Ooh, all right, we've got our joint P&Z Board of Adjustment meeting tomorrow. So that'll be some interesting discussion, considering we just added to their agenda or have confused things a little bit.
No, well, we'll see. I got a chamber board meeting too.
Are you able to attend tomorrow?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. I'll let you do.
Do you trust us?
Are you not going to be there? Oh,
But I
it's
might
going to
go
go off
to
the
a funeral.
Tomorrow, what time?
Noon.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll be there.
Here?
Good.
Yep, we'll be.
Simcoe's 60th anniversary event this Thursday as well. I'm looking forward to that 60th anniversary. I do want to state just a couple of things. Alex, you had mentioned other downtown areas in comparison to Sioux City's downtown area. I spent a lot of times up in the Twin Cities. I spend time in Kansas City, and I don't think that vacant storefronts are something specific to our city. In fact, I think we're doing better than most cities, if I can be completely honest with you. My brother did work in downtown St. Paul, and that restaurant was, it was on a very short list of the best restaurants in town, and they closed down in the downtown area, and it is businesses boarded up. So I don't think that's uniquely us. I think we're doing good. I drive through downtown, and there's always something happening, and I hope that this is a good solution. We've had talks with the Warrior about how we can entertain outdoor seating before. We've seen some successes in areas like Jackson Street Brewing. We've seen other areas where there's just not enough space to be able to operate and keep the sidewalk open a sufficient amount. So I'm hoping that this will allow for more possibilities, and I appreciate Teresa's work on this. She's not in here anymore, but I appreciate her work at finding a good middle point. That I think that'll be beneficial to everyone without us jumping in with both feet. I also want to state I do hope that we remain very open and transparent about the recruitment of the city manager process. Up to this point, one of the things that has been discussed is having a panel of citizens that are involved in the interview process, and that was notably left off of the proposed agenda that was sent to council members. And I voiced some concerns about that. I have not heard back regarding that, but I am not for citizens having no input. And I understand that they would be allowed to attend the city council open meeting and listen to some questions being asked of candidates. But
They're able to submit questions from what I understand.
they would have to be vigorously screened, and that has not been approved yet. But I understand that only certain questions can be asked legally. My concern is they're coming into a room, they're asking a question after all the interviews have occurred, and a decision has ultimately probably been made by most of them.
I would disagree with that.
Well, I want to make sure that we are including citizens and that they have some type of input and some type of voice. And I am just want to be open, upfront, and transparent about that. I want to make sure that we continue to push for that, because I think that if they are going to make Sioux City their home, they're going to have to hear from citizens at some point. And that is everything.
Julie?
I am going to take a little tiny personal thank you. I am wearing my 5-year pin. I went to the ceremony or the luncheon last week where we had our everybody's anniversary for years of service. I was lucky enough to be reelected the second term, which puts me into my 5th year. I love what I do. I appreciate the votes that got me here. I want to be clear that I will continue to work the rest of my term as hard as I can for the things that I advocated for, housing for all income levels, amenities, cleaning up the city, all of those things. I'm still very diligent about them. I really want to say thank you. I wore my pin today because it does mean a lot to me. I love working with my counterparts here, our legal department, everyone. Staff is wonderful, and we really do work hard for the community. I want to say that, and I appreciate being allowed to serve. I really do. Thank you. I'm getting verklempt.
Alex?
No, I would just say it was a hot weekend, but a busy weekend. A lot of events going on all throughout. I would say downtown, but I'm sure there were events in other areas of town too. But yeah, lots of stuff going on, lots of activity. Thousands of people were throughout the downtown, from Hard Rock with Rib Fest, throughout June Jam, and all over. So well done for those that were a part of it.
Dan, nothing further, Mayor.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott. Waters.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.